Welcome, Mary, to Unshackled Moms Alliance.
Hey, I am so glad to be here. I know we had to work through technology, but it's always worth it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Technology is really great because we need it, and then but when it works, it's fabulous. When it doesn't work, it is just such a pain, isn't it?
Right.
So you describe your father as emotionally absent growing up. So what did that actually look like day to day? And did you even recognize it as a wound at the time, or did it just feel like you're normal?
Wow. What a loaded question. It's interesting. My dad traveled when I was young, so he was literally absent. But even when he was home, he was emotionally absent. I remember he had his chair, and that's where he read his magazines, looked at the newspaper. Gosh, the newspaper seems like such a foreign thing. But it
Yeah.
was like if he was in his chair, we needed to just let him alone. Or I remember I was in youth group, and even then, this was archaic, but I remember asking him for a dime to get a Coke out of the vending machine when I was going to the church youth group, and I felt like eggshells. Oh, can I ask him? Is it I never thought, is it too much? That wasn't in my realm of thinking, but is he gonna be pleasant when I ask him was probably what was going on. And by the time my parents divorced when I was 12, and by the time I was dating, I was aware that I was missing some of the interaction that would come with a father and that maybe that was influencing my dating. I won't say I was a prolific dater, but my mom told stories on me and my dating life even while I was still at home, so there was some joking about it.
So when up until the time you were 12 and things dissolved in their marriage, did you think that everybody's home was like that? That everybody's dad had a chair and it had to walk kinda on eggshells?
I saw both, which I thank God for that. I had real close friends in the neighborhood, so I was at their house a lot, and both things were present. Another dad, just like mine, old school, sitting in the chair, and then a different dad who was very engaged and interested in doing things with the kids. I know sometimes fathers struggle with daughters. Maybe when they're really little, it seems easy for them to connect and do things. But as the girls get older, it's like, what? They're not playing Barbies or, they're trying to find the common ground that they can have. But I did see examples of both.
I think that personally was my one of my saving graces. So I
Yeah.
also had an absent father and, just I didn't know what normal was
Uh,
or never would know what normal was if it wasn't for all those families that I was able to see where I saw the dad being involved and like, "Okay, this is what I want. When I grow up, I want the same kind of family."
yeah, it's a
So
wonderful dream for sure because you feel safe, you feel known, and that's everybody's heart. That's what drives them.
yeah, absolutely. And then I think, I went through that whole Cinderella phase, right? Like someday I want to grow up, be a princess, and have someone come and rescue me.
Uh,
Like as an adult, I look back and I realize how faulty that thinking is.
yeah.
But I think that, you just cling to those heroes, and hope that you get that someday.
Yeah.
So, how does an emotionally absent father shape a little girl's understanding of her own worth and what love is supposed to feel like?
Mm. Well, you mentioned the princess idea and just knowing you're special. Now, my father actually used the word that I was special, and he had pet names for me, like he called me Pumpkin, and so I perceived that, but there was such a mix. And how is some of this good and some of it doesn't feel quite enough. So I
Yeah.
know that that children, that daughters are looking for things from their father and they they can recognize when something is missing and it
Yeah.
makes them potentially look elsewhere to have that need met. I will say this to my mother's credit, that whenever there were, family activities or, like, bring your kid to the park activities, that she would seek out other families so that I could be included if there was a big emphasis on the father. And, just knowing that that was a different role. That felt different when a father was around.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So you said that you unknowingly chose an emotionally absent husband. So we just kind of like bridge that gap, right? Looking
Yeah.
back, what are some of the signs that you may have missed? And why do you think that familiar dynamic felt safe or even attractive?
It was normal. Men are just like this. Men are
Yeah.
busy in their own world. Men are prioritizing what they want. Men are consumed with their needs, putting their needs first. Now, and it was a very interesting scenario with my first husband because his father and my father had been friends since junior high school.
Wow.
So they were from the same era, and, I thought maybe this can help bridge the gap with my dad. It really was a
Mm,
conscious thought as to one of the reasons why I chose him. There were some other things. He was a believer, and I thought we had similar values, but I was still trying to repair the bridge that was in my life, that gap, and still wanting to find a way for my dad to really see me.
mhm. It goes right back to that time and time again, doesn't it? Just
Yeah.
as women, we just want to be seen. So many women don't connect their childhood father wound to their marriage struggles. When did you make that connection? And then what cracked it open for you?
It was used against me. So within,
Mm.
the first 10 years, we ended up in counseling. Probably should have ended up there sooner, but, I would say things about how my husband was acting. And he would say, "You're just mad at your dad. You're just hurt because of your dad. You put your dad's head on my shoulders, and you're just blaming me because of him." Now, he said this in the counselor's room, and, that counselor was not ultimately the right fit for us, but
Yeah.
I there was some truth because there were some similarities. It was really hard to decipher, and since then, I know that if you're in a relationship where you're being hurt ongoing, that it's difficult to heal. So I could not get complete freedom and healing and a new way of seeing things while I was still in that atmosphere with my husband and his belittling and not making me a priority.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of times that the belittling starts slowly, right? Because
Mm,
if men, automatically when we're dating, if they start belittling us and being nasty to us, chances are we know, "You know what? Let's just spend forever together."
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I think men who behave that way are very systemic in that they're kind, they're nice, and then, like,
Mhm,
maybe 1 or 2 downgrades here, and then it just, like, increases, and it's like being a frog in hot water, or
mm.
cold water, right? As it boils, you don't realize that it's getting hot around you.
Yeah, yeah. I did know we had sex problems from day one, so that one did not come on
Okay.
gradually, but the way we were handling it got worse and worse as time went on.
Yeah. So you stayed for 26 years. What kept you there, and what role did your faith and the church's message play in that?
Yes, yes. It's so interesting, and of course, if you've had these conversations with other women, it's excruciating to stay. It's also excruciating to leave, and you're trying to pick what is the right path for you and all of the family dynamics. I did
Yeah.
stay because of messages from the church. I wanted things to work out. We ended up going to multiple counselors. We tried a lot of things. We ended up leading couples classes, which now I'm like, oh God, I pray over all those couples who sat under our leadership. But I was consuming materials, Christian helps to fix things because I was aware of that, but he was not interested in the fixing part. Liked the facade of that, but I stayed until I knew that I could not do this any longer, that it
Yeah.
was just my identity, my dignity, all of that was being crushed. And in the process of the marriage, that it was it revealed that my former husband was struggling with pornography. So that
Yeah.
was another layer against who I was and who I wanted to be in marriage. So it got very complicated quickly.
Yeah. So were you of the mindset of I've seen so many moms that I work with that are like, I just need to pray harder. I just need to pray a little bit more. I just need to, I read Stomio Martin's book, The Power of a Praying Wife. I just need to pray harder. Or I also have moms that are like, you know what, I made a covenant before God and I don't want to break that covenant. He doesn't break those covenants with me. Why would I break those with him?
Mm. I was more of the let me pray more, let me do more, let me
Hmm.
read more self-help books, let me work on
Yeah.
myself. I wasn't using that phrase, but it was like I did internalize that something was wrong with me and
Yeah.
that it was my fault, and that meant it was up to me to make the difference. So that was a driving force for me.
Yeah, I think that, as homemakers, instinctively, that so many women are in that same boat.
Mm,
Like, "I just have to fix it, it's just me. I
yeah.
need to," because I am the heart of the home, and if my heart is beating ugly, then, of course, it's gonna make cause our home disrupt. But the truth is, it takes 2, right? God
Oh,
creates
for
the
sure.
husband for specifics and a wife for a specific purpose, and together, they can make beautiful harmony.
Right, if you're yielding to one another and yielding to God at the same time, yeah,
Yeah.
all of that
Yeah.
can work together for sure.
Yeah. So you said that you discovered your husband's pornography addiction after years of feeling like only your body was wanted. How did
Mm,
that revelation, as painful as it was, actually become part of your healing?
wow. It brought clarity, it brought validation to what I was
Mhm.
feeling, it gave
Yep.
me something else to, I won't say blame, but I was like, "Oh my goodness, it's not just me."
Yep.
There is clearly something going on here that he is doing. It was proof that he was contributing to the negative status in the marriage. So that it was definitely a turning point in how I showed up and my expectations of him and the marriage at large.
What did it damage your self-esteem? Like, I know a lot of women who, have husbands that struggle in pornography,
Hmm.
it just makes them feel completely worthless. Like, I look, those women are in a really sick way, like, they look at those women, and they go, "Oh, they have the perfect bodies, and my husband is lusting after them," and, like, I've had 3 children, and I have a little apron, or my arm waves back, like, I have a little extra weight. I'm like, it just makes women more self-conscious. Did it do that for you?
It did not. I was so shocked and just like a sucker punch of, "Oh my
Mm,
gosh, it was so filthy and so dirty and so unbelievable that I lived in denial in some ways because it was unfathomable, and
yeah,
I had found it on our family computer back in the day when
Mhm.
everybody was sharing one. So I was more horrified by what my children may have been exposed to.
Yep,
But I did not immediately go to a comparison point of view. And truly, we'd been married 10 years by then. So the patterns of sex were already in place. It's not like things got worse
yep.
after I discovered it.
So you discovered it at the 10-year mark, and then you stayed for another 13 years?
I did,
Yeah,
and, that was when more of the counseling came into play,
yep.
and, women weren't leaving.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
found when some of the interesting things that were happening, the world wasn't even acknowledging negative things about pornography then, and the church certainly didn't have language, didn't have programs. I found one book on
Wow.
how to help a wife in this situation. So the first step that was interesting and also destructive, there was a group of men somehow or another at our church found each other that they had been struggling from pornography. They did not have a book on how to help them. They certainly didn't have a leader to help them, but they found just a general discipleship book from Promise Keepers. And I'm glad they did something, I don't know, but the wives then were like, "Well, we have this hour now that our husbands are meeting. What are we going to do?" So at that point, it gave real live faces to other women going through similar situations. Even though we didn't get practical help, there was some emotional support to know I wasn't alone. Those wives also stayed. So, we
Wow.
reinforced some negative behaviors and thought, "Okay, we'll stick it out because our guys are trying something." And we always
Yeah,
were hopeful that there would be changes coming.
yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. That is so interesting, like, what an incredible gift that that group
Mm,
of women, I'm sure, were to you because it's like,
yeah.
"Okay, I'm not alone in this. There are other women who are struggling with this." But like you say, times were so different and, there wasn't that piece of, um, you as a Christian woman can do something about it, right? Yeah, it was like,
Right,
just
right.
back stay back in the day of work it out no matter what. And,
Yes.
the other piece is that, like, oh, you had to have seen some kind of hope. Okay, Promise Keepers was huge
Mhm.
several years ago, right? And so, like, okay, well, he is doing this program, which is known to be, help men. And like, I can't leave now. I mean, look, he's working on himself.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, come a long way.
Absolutely, thank you, Jesus.
Amen to that. Yes. So, what does inner healing actually look like in practice? So, for women who've heard that term or have never heard that term, walk us through
Mm,
what the journey looked like for you.
yeah, it was shocking to my system
Mm,
to realize that some of my beliefs had contributed to where I was. Now, right away, I didn't deserve his pornography addiction. It had nothing to do with me. So I want to say that up front. But when I would think I was not enough, that did cause me to settle and to stay. When I would think, "Oh, this is just life, and I've gotta make the most of it and keep smiling, keep smiling." When
yeah.
I would shift to those ways of thinking, it was harmful. So that was a part of my process. I didn't come to that place of understanding on my own. I found some wonderful Christian counselors, coaches, and, people that could really walk with me and hold me accountable. And we were trading those lies about my value and my worth for what God actually said and his truth about my identity in him. It
Yeah,
was just revolutionary for me to go, God, you love me? I'm special to you. I'm worth your time and your attention, and you care for me in such a way that honors my heart. You see me. You know me. All of those places that had been damaged in my marriage in that former way of thinking and living, God touched. He healed it. And I had layer upon layer of those negative things being wiped off of me, but I did have to keep working on my thoughts. So
yeah.
every time one of those lies would come up, I'm like, okay, but wait a minute. What does God say? I know He's there for me. I know He's gone before me. I know I can trust Him. I had to continually make the shift in my thoughts, and that was how healing worked for me.
Yeah, I love that, and I think that there's such an incredible revelation when you switch over from um being a rule follower and like this is
Ah,
what God says, this, and so I have to obey this because this is what God says, versus God loves me
yeah.
unconditionally no matter who I am, what I've done, whatever, even under Christ. Like you're still going to sin, you're not going to be perfect, right? And so he loves me and he sees me for me and is able to reveal who I really am and the beauty of who I am under that umbrella, right? And so
Amen.
I see so many women who are like, oh, I can't do this because God says this. I can't do that because God says this. And I tell moms all the time, it's like this. So if my kids say, "Please don't post my any of my pictures on social media," then, I don't do it because like, "Oh, he laid down the law, I have to follow it." I do it because
Mm,
I love him, and if
yeah.
that is what he wants, then that's what I'm going to do. And I think that God says the same thing, right? Like, I do the things that he asks me because I love him, because I have a relationship with him, not because it's some rule book that I have to follow. And there's such incredible freedom in that, I think.
Amen. That place of relationship changes everything. And I had been a Christian for years and years, but this felt like a second salvation where everything
Yeah.
was real. It was such a place where it affected every area of my life. And once you have experienced that, it's like nobody can take this from me. And I just wanted more and more of that relationship with God.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I have discovered that only very recently, probably the last
Mm,
3 or 4 years, and I, accepted Christ when I was a teenager
yeah.
and was just, like, very much under the quote, unquote, "law" of what God says, and don't like, "Here's the umbrella, don't step underneath that, covering, or you know, lest lightning strike you," or whatever, like, and just having that freedom of, I can be me, warts and all. I can be who God created me to be, and that's okay. There's not if I break a rule, I still am loved. Like
Right.
if I do something that maybe I shouldn't have, I still, if I fall into an old pattern briefly, I still am loved. It's okay. Not that
Absolutely.
not that I don't try to do those things because I love him, but I am still human.
Amen. He's always holding his arms out, ready for us to choose him over the other things that are always second best.
Yeah, absolutely. So, after the divorce, you lost everything, right? Your world was completely shot. You lost your
It
home,
was.
your church, friends, even your pets.
Right.
And so how did you rebuild your identity? Speaking of being an identity in Christ, and
Mhm.
then when everything that you defined as you was gone.
It was the most difficult thing, I for sure. And, at the beginning stages, I needed a different job because I
Yeah,
had been working at a Christian school, which pays nothing, and
right.
my, teaching certificate had expired, but when you work for small Christian schools, they usually don't care, but I realized, "Mary, if you're gonna get a real job, you have to get that updated." I needed one more course to get that renewed. When I went to sign up for that, they said, "You know what? We are opening up our master's program, and so the course that you take could apply towards your master's degree." It was not on my radar at all, but I just felt like God was just opening doors, and so I moved, ooh, golly, 9 hours away from home, really had to start over. It's so cool, though. My first weekend there, I had gone up for prayer at church, and because I had found a church just by looking for, a particular denomination, and I went up front, and a kind older woman came over to me, and she's praying over me. And she said, "Sounds like you're struggling. Let me give you my name and number. You can call me." And I'm like, "Oh, this is so meaningful." And she's writing it out on a piece of paper. And I'm looking at it, reading it upside down as she's writing. And I'm saying the name out loud. And I look at her. Her name's Sally Edwards. And I'm like, I knew a Sally Edwards years ago at such and such city and these details. And she said, "That's me."
Oh
So
my goodness!
30 years later, God lined
Wow!
up this wonderful woman that I already trusted from when I was a teenager.
Oh
And
my
that was my
goodness.
experience when I went back to school. God gave me favor upon favor. My first class was held a week after a tornado came through, and they had to, kind of condense what we were doing, but I it was the right time in the right place, and I remember reading my textbooks and just being in tears. I was learning about gifted education at the time, and I thought, "This was me. I was one of these students." It was never recognized, so God was rebuilding my identity just as a person. And when I'd go to class and the professor would say, "Hey, what did you guys think about this?" And I'm like looking around the room, nobody else had their hand raised. And it was life changing for me. My identity is being changed through a textbook, but God was just making everything real for me. So I just, every night, laid my head on that pillow. God, I trust you. You're my everything. I want you to lead me. I want to follow you. It was a new place of dependence, and God absolutely never failed me, and He always did more than I could imagine.
Ah, so amazing. So amazing. So, um, father wounds and sexual intimacy are kind of
Mm,
your thing, right? It's where the heart of what you do. So, how
yeah.
specifically do father wounds show up in the bedroom for married women? And then, what are some of the most common patterns that you see with your clients?
Wow. I think father wounds are, um, interfere with someone's safety and security
Mhm.
and that
Yep.
place that I'm okay and somebody is looking out for me and I have a future. And if those doubts are going on, then women, as we've said earlier, they look other places to have those needs met. And they may be expecting too much from their spouse. Their husband is not their be all, end all. God is the one that's in that realm. So there's a struggle with, what needs do I meet within myself? What needs do I turn to God with? What needs
Yep.
do I turn to my husband for? In regards to sexual intimacy, if you have these places of hesitation, well, right from the get-go, you're not gonna feel free to express yourself.
Mhm.
You're gonna second guess your spouse. Do they really want to be with me? Do they really mean it when they say, "I love you"? Are they really attracted to me? So the mind game that goes on in the mind of a woman is so tough to overcome,
Mhm.
and she can get trapped in this cyclical thinking and never be able to freely express herself or to enjoy sex. And it's probably been said many times before, but the number one sex organ is the brain.
Yep.
So if her brain is working against her, then her body can't even begin to relax and feel the pleasure, and her emotions are on guard. So she's at war within herself long before she even gets to the bedroom.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. And we just did a series on purity culture,
Mm,
and Dr. Hudson talked a little bit about how the pelvic floor of someone who has been in purity culture and has been, told sex is bad, sex is bad, sex is bad. And then as soon as you get married, you're supposed to go, hey, sex is good, right?
yeah.
That their pelvic floor is the same as someone who has been assaulted sexually,
Mm.
and so and it yeah, affects your mind, but it affects so many different parts of your body. I mean, I imagine it's, similar to if you have some deep hurt in the church or deep hurt, father wound wise, it just affects your body in so many different ways.
And you might not be aware that that's what's causing it.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, as a Christian sex educator, how do you help women um rec- reconcile their faith with their sexuality? And then when shame has, woven into both.
Mm. There is makes me think of carding sheep's wool. How they get this wool, they've sheared the sheep, and they have this bundle of wool, and then they have these 2 combs that are separating, and they're trying to pull out any of the burrs and dirt and things that are mixed in with the wool. It's quite a process, and that is part of what's going on inside of us. We're like, "This is what I've believed, but now I'm hearing that maybe that's not true. Everything the church said wasn't true. How do I find out what God's original message was and not just a message that has been written by men and spoken by men?" So it is a journey, and for a woman to give herself permission to feel, to grieve the loss of what she didn't know, how that worked against her. It's a really delicate place to go from, "I used to believe this," all the way to, "Wow, I believe something completely different now, and I have proof because I have freedom and joy that I didn't have before."
Mhm. Too often the church talks about and preaches that, wives are supposed to submit to their husbands, including in the bedroom. Like you, as a woman, are told over and over that I have no say in the bedroom. It's
Mm.
all about how can I please my husband. So, what kind of things are you doing to overcome that?
It starts with a woman being able to enjoy the sensations herself. I remember working with a client and she was just like, um, stiff as a board in the bedroom, so uncomfortable, so on guard. I'm like, "Let's just take this experience outside the bedroom. Let's just think about how are you as a woman processing what it means to be sensual." And I needed to unpack that more, and I said, "Imagine you're outside and you're fully clothed, so this is not anything crazy, but you're feeling the breeze on your skin, and it's just gentle and soothing, and you feel the rays of sunshine on your face, and you hear the birds, and you're just caught up in God's nature, and you feel alive in this." Sensually, that is what is happening. You are becoming alive to pleasure, and you're understanding that pleasure is a good gift from God. God is not embarrassed by sex. He's not ashamed. He created it. It is good. I have
Yeah.
a favorite story that I tell, and it parallels something that I went through as a child. My favorite Christmas memory, my family had relocated and starting over in this new house, new city, new state, everything before my parents divorced. So they had tried something. And it's Christmas morning and I'm coming down the stairs and I see the Christmas tree and there's this big metal pipe under the Christmas tree with a bow. It has my name on it, and there's ribbon tied to it, and the ribbon goes through the room and down the stairs and out to a carport. And I follow it, and I'm really excited about this question, what is this? I get to the carport and I see this huge box, and it is a swing set. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, my parents got me a swing set." Hey, I was 10. I thought maybe I'm a little too old for this, but at the same time, it was a surprise and I was excited. And it was both the swing set and the adventure of finding it that was meaningful to me. And I know that God sees sex as a gift for us. And the actual act of sexual intimacy in marriage is wonderful and there's pleasure, but the anticipation and the playfulness and the exploration leading up to it is also a part of his plan. And that's just an education process to give multiple examples and make it specific to each couple so they can understand what that goodness is for them.
I love that story. That's a perfect example.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now you have a thriving remarriage with Tim. What
Yes.
does healthy love feel like compared to what you knew before? And then how did you know the difference when you found it?
Oh boy. I felt safe. I felt
Mm.
respected. I felt cherished as a whole person. He used to tell me in the early days how he was attracted to my brain. And I'm like, "Whoa, you got me right there." He also said, "Do you have any date clothes? Because you just look like you're a school marm." So he was teasing me and inviting me, making it safe that I could be a sensual woman in our relationship, even as we were dating. But early on, we would talk, and I was single for 5 years, and I had 27 first dates because I did not know what it felt like to be respected and to show up in a way that I had my voice and I could just talk to them and not have any pressure to perform sexually or in any way. So, I had met him and begun to experience more and more encouragement to be myself. And we did have an interesting wedding night, and I share this openly, so he knows. It's okay. And we did not have sex before we got married, so we had great anticipation, and
Yep.
on our wedding night, I experienced pain, and I was like, "Whoa, this isn't cool." I'm like, "God, you got me out of that first marriage and all of that difficulty, and here I am remarried to a wonderful godly man and sex still has a problem." So I was initially um not in a good place with it, except that I was able to talk about it instantly,
Yeah.
able to share something that was so deeply personal. And we're newly married, so we don't have a long experience on that level of
Right?
talking about things.
Yeah.
And not only did I talk about it, we're still on our honeymoon out of the country. And I'm like, well, I'm not giving up yet. And we began to do fun sexual activities. Even if I couldn't have intercourse, we did other things that were um, mutually satisfying, enjoyable, respectful. But that was an instant sign for me, even in a sexual problem, it was safe to talk to him. We were working as a team. We were not angry, shouting, none of that was going on. And I also think it was a gift from God because I didn't know I still needed more healing. I had not
Yeah.
been sexually active like that as a single woman, and now I'm married again, and you don't know until you're in a similar situation. So that
Yep.
brought me more healing because I had been a life coach helping women find their purpose. And then I had been a coach talking about how do you date after you've been divorced. And now, after about a year or so into the marriage, a coach challenged me, Mary, maybe your sexual journey is a part of your coaching. Have you thought about that? So it was
Wow.
only because of lived experience that I started that process. And then I got more professional training so that I was helping women and couples, not just from what I experienced, but also what I knew they needed
Yep.
emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, and in every way possible.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you said, I want to do this, but I want to give the couples that I have, the women that I have, everything that I possibly can, all the resources that I possibly can. So I'm going to go and learn some more so that I can
Yes.
be the best that I can be to help y'all. I love that. Okay. So for the woman that is listening right now who recognizes herself in your story,
Mm.
but has no idea where to start, what's the very first thing that she can do as a step toward healing?
I would say find a safe person. It's
Mhm.
quite possibly not your spouse.
Right. Yep.
Find a safe woman, whether it's a professional or someone at your church. Hey, my first safe person was an older female cousin. And we talked on the phone for hours back when you had to pay for long distance calls. And it she's was a godsend to me to be able to describe things that I had never said out loud. So that is a place where you can begin to get it out because it
Yeah.
just festers and it turns into something bigger and darker when you
Yeah.
keep it inside. But that safe person can mirror back to you what they're hearing you say. And then your feelings are not in the driver's seat anymore when you let them out in measured ways that you can learn from.
Wow, that is such a I am a visual person. That is quite the visual that your feelings are in the driver's seat
Yeah.
unless you allow share them, talk it out so that you can be back in the driver's seat. Well,
Right,
actually
right.
actually, I always say that like I'm like the kid in the car seat with the little driver's seat that really the little steering wheel, really God's in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So you say that God brings a message out of your mess.
Mm.
What is the message that you want a hurting woman to walk away with today?
You are loved right now, right where you are. You are special and valued and treasured and cherished and have a whole life ahead of you. That there is no reason for you to feel stuck anymore. There is hope. There is hope. There are things, ways out there for you to try that will make a difference, and you can still create the life that you always dreamed of.
Oh, that is a good word. So, where can women find you and what does working with you actually look like for someone who's never worked with a relationship coach before?
Yeah, my website is limitlessintimacy.com. And the reason I called my business that is because we are always tapping into God's love, which is limitless.
Amen.
And never runs dry, always is enough. I have a favorite passage from Isaiah 30:18 that talks about how he is longing to be with us and expectantly wants to bless us and to provide matchless, unbroken companionship. So when you feel like you're just torn up, torn apart by these things, it's not too big for God. And he wants to be there for you and will be there for you. So working with me is creating that safe space, first of all, like we talked about, to be able to say out loud the things that you have been avoiding, the things that you haven't even said to yourself, much less to anyone else. Once we can get some of that out, we can begin to identify, did you believe some lies about your value and your identity? Yeah, there probably were lies about sex too, but we're starting with lies about who you are. And can we replace those with what God's truth is? I want to always gird up this woman so that she is ready to make all the decisions that she wants about her marriage, about her future, because not every marriage is meant to stay together. And as long as a woman is feeling more equipped and confident in who she is, then I absolutely know that she will be able to hear God and make the decisions that she needs to make going forward.
I love that there are so many revolutionary statements in there, right?
Mm.
I think, so whether or not you have a cousin or somebody that you can talk to, or you need to connect with Mary, we'll make sure that that link is in the description so that you can click on that and set up some time to be with her. Thank you so much for being with us today. I just so appreciate all the things that you had to share. I know that they're going to bless my audience and bless for years to come as people click on this episode. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's great. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for asking me.